Hey, everybody. It's Mike from the HomeHappy Podcast here with Ian Flower and Dallas Crick. Dallas, tell us why it's important to have Ian involved when you're doing a purchase.
Well, and the inspection is everything. And the funny part is the Okanagan has so many different regions, even within from West Kelowna to Kelowna. So, you get to Glenmore, you have clay, you have radon in certain areas. And that's one thing that to me is really important, especially when having an inspector.
Yeah, Dallas, exactly to your point, not just an inspector, but a knowledgeable realtor as well that has been around and understands those areas and issues that are troublesome to specific areas or just to be aware of, right? Radon's one of those things that it's kind of the new buzzword. It's a new up and coming that everybody's like, well, what is it? And where is it? And how does it affect us? And in the Okanagan, we are a high risk area, and there's certain areas within that Okanagan region that we're seeing more of it. So yeah, like say super important. We can do radon assessments as part of a real estate transaction. There's actually a program. It's a 4-day test because ideally you want to do a 90-day long-term test, but you can't do that during a real estate transaction, right? So the 4-day test gets you a glimpse of what those numbers are, whether you're seeing higher numbers or not, so that you can put those mitigation systems in.
And just to touch on that, so it's a 4-day test. When we have our 2-week subject removal, that's why it's super important to get you in like ASAP.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times we're seeing right now, people are still waiting for financing approval, and they're doing it right at the very end. There is advantage to trying to do it sooner. Typically, if we're going to do the radon assessment, we'll drop off the radon monitor 4 days before we're doing the home inspection. That way, once we've done the home inspection, we understand the home and its current condition, and then we can also get all those readings to inform you. Certain areas, we've got to be careful with radon because radon can be anywhere. Your neighbor can have high numbers and you have next to no numbers, but there are different neighborhoods that have higher percentage, or where we see the numbers coming back at a higher percentage. And the likes of Kettle Valley, we had a house, brand new build, passive radon system built into it. So you get the new home buyers that are moving in there and think, okay, well, this already has the passive system in there, it should be fine. We did a radon assessment and it came back at 3,500 cube becquerels, which may not mean much for people, but the Canadian guidelines for the safe limit is 200. So when we're seeing numbers of 3,500, that's huge. And then we went back and retested to make sure with a different machine that those numbers were accurate. And the second test came back closer to 5,000. So there's definitely areas where we want to make sure we're protecting ourselves and getting those tests done.
That's incredible. I wouldn't have had a clue about that. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I don't think about it. But to have those numbers in a place that you're about to move into, there's ways to deal with it, right? It's not the end of the world, but it's just something you got to be aware of, I would think.
Well, to your point, exactly. There's ways to deal with it, and the thing is it's odorless, it's tasteless. We don't know about it, right? So you have no idea you're moving in with your family, your kids, and this one they had grandma living downstairs, and because they had new babies that are going to help and look after. So literally the generations of family are in there. And that's it. It's just then if you're aware of it, you can take those actions to mitigate it and make it safe.
Yeah. Hi, Klinka.
Hi, hey everyone.
Morning.
So yeah, we're just talking about inspections and what can occur even in local areas, not just BC or the Okanagan, and even specific, Glenmore, Dallas. We were talking about that. I mean, there's more. Were you saying there's more clay up there and more potential radon, that kind of stuff?
Well, the clay is a big thing, right? Maybe Ian, you can even touch on that and what happens in those situations. And we see it a lot in Vernon too.
Yeah, exactly. So certain areas of the valley have clay-based soils. And so the clay-based soils is actually a different issue as opposed to the radon. Radon, we're seeing more, say Kettle Valley or Shannon Lake, where we're seeing rock bases and the gases being able to come through the rocks. Vernon, Pacific, like East Hill, Glenmore regions, that homes are built on clay base. When you have moisture changes, what happens is those shift. So we're seeing foundation issues, foundation cracks. We're seeing settlements of homes in the areas that have the clay-based soils. So, for me, we're looking in different regions or different areas or neighborhoods, looking for foundation issues, structure issues, more important for radon in certain areas, but then also age-related items too. Homes built in the 70s, we're looking for aluminum wiring because it's potential insurance issues. 80s and 90s to early 2000 poly B, which is becoming a more of an insurance issue. So to have an experienced inspector and an experienced realtor is really crucial, and to have that team on your side, right? So.
Amazing.
Yeah, I find I'm basically an inspector when I'm first starting to look for homes for people. I'm underneath, finding out what the plumbing is, having a look around, and because you're just saving time, right? There's no point writing an offer on a home and finding this stuff out by Ian after paying, some money. Like I get in there and do my own little inspection.
Do people do pre-inspections ever? Is that something that happens? So like if you're listing your property, you have an inspection done ahead of time. Is that something that goes on?
Yeah, so pre-listings, as we were talking about, one of the most underutilized tools today, I think, right? It's sometimes a tough sell for someone that's buying their house, that's selling their home, to say, hey, do a pre-listing inspection. But the benefits truly are when you have you're in control of the narrative as opposed to the buyer being in control of the narrative. Nobody wants to hear their faults, but if you can hear what things need to be fixed, or what things are, one, you can disclose them, or two, you can choose to fix them before the listing goes live. So a couple options is, we go in and say, here's this list of 15 things. 10 of them are normal wear and tear items for a used house. It's not a brand new house, but it allows you to, one, show that you've done your due diligence, shown that you've disclosed everything by having an unbiased third party come in and take a look at it. It allows you to make the home show better with those few things, fixing those few things. But, we touched on earlier about poly B and it being an insurance issue. So if you've got poly B in your home, it's going to come up as an issue. So if you can get in front of that and have a quote done, so a good buyer's agent's going to say, well, man, you got poly B, that's probably $10,000 to $15,000 to replace. So we need to go with that $15,000 and we need to deduct that off. Where if you get ahead of this, you can get 3 quotes, take the cheapest quote, have it printed on the counter and say, hey, it was actually $4,000 to have it replaced. I'll meet in the middle at $2,000. And all of a sudden now we're talking about $2,000 instead of $15,000. So it helps you to get ahead of that. And then the other thing is, and Dallas, you can probably really touch on this, is how heightened emotions are when you're in a pressure cooker of timelines and deadlines and subject removals. So people become emotional about things where they wouldn't before. So it just really allows you to have more of a smoother transaction and have less surprises.
Yeah, even, trying to get a plumber in there, they just can't show up that day. So if it's mitigated right away, we know exactly what we're doing. We have a quote instead of waiting 4 days for a plumber to come in and give you a high number.
Yeah,
stuff.
and yeah, it really is a good way to go. Easy for the inspector to say, though.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, but I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much for joining us, Ian. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you all next time on the HomeHappy Podcast.
See you soon.
Cheers.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.